Do you remember the first time you heard him speaking in English? What was your reaction? When it just happened, I was terrified. What is he saying? How come he talks in English? Who taught him? And what were you thinking? I thought about reincarnations. His mother reached out to me so we can examine him. Language examination, speech, because he started speaking late. After these examinations, she came back and mentioned that her child has a problem. I asked her, what is the problem? She replied that her son started talking, but he talks like the King of England. That's exactly what she told me.
Oh, what? This is chicken?
No, it's a dinosaur!
Can a child suddenly acquire a language which he was not exposed to? Scientifically, it is not possible. A child acquires a language through the environment he is exposed to. Why he wasn't receptive to Arabic first? They spoke to him in Arabic. His family speaks to him in Arabic. I would use Google Translate, and through the app I can understand what he tells me in Arabic. It's the first time that I witnessed something that I have no logical explanation for. Druze parents who were born here in a village, never been abroad, don't speak English. What if we try to think about another explanation beyond the reincarnations? What are the other possible explanations? Let's say he watches television in the English language 24 hours a day, every day, and he is extremely receptive and he is a very smart child. It's a possibility, but it's not. What would you like to happen? Maybe an assistant or a special school for him. Because I think it's going to be very difficult for him here. The following video appeared on the Israeli TV show called Panim Amitiyot, Real Face, where they bring the unusual story of O'Neill, who grew up in Majdal, a Druze village in the northern part of Israel. Good evening. O'Neill is just a little boy. He's only 3 years and 9 months old. He belongs to the Druze community and he lives in Majdal, which is located in the northern part of Israel. He speaks only few words in Arabic, but he speaks fluently in English, in British accent. On the other hand, his parents are not speaking English. His parents told us that that's how he was born, speaking only English. A few months ago, O'Neill's grandmother reached out to us and asked if we can come and see him. We were very skeptical, but then she sent us videos of him. We drove to Majdal and we were surprised. After we returned to Tel Aviv, we gathered different experts, neurologists, linguists, even a medium. Maybe science or mysticism will have a convincing explanation to the story of a Druze boy who was born speaking British English. The real face of the miracle boy, story reported by Moshe Arush and Chavi Klein. Let's enter here. We are looking for a boy called O'Neill. He was born speaking English. You know which family I'm talking about? You know the story? Yes. He is 3 years old, and he speaks as if he is living in America. During the late morning, we arrived to Majdal, which is located at the footsteps of the Hermon mountain, so that we can see with our own eyes and ears the miracle story that happened in this village. The miracle boy that was born speaking fluently English, while none of his family members speak the language. Jamila, O'Neill's grandmother, left us a message on Facebook and asked us to come over and see what happened to her grandchild. So he was born here? Yes. He is speaking English. Speaking English. For example, things like toys, he addresses everything not in Arabic, but in English. In English? They have stories here. We are the Druze. Yes, we have many special stories. They live on the top of the hill on the left side, in the corner house. Hello, Amir. How are you? I'm good. What an incredible story, right? How old is he now? Now he is 3.5. 3 and 9 months. And in what age did you discover that? 2.5 years. Grandmother Jamila initiated our visit in the village, but the child's parents are hesitant. They are simple people living in a village on the edge of Israel and not used for attention from the media. Is he at home? So should we go in? No? Yes, please. We didn't know what to expect. But even after the preparation through the phone, O'Neill is able to surprise us. A small toddler, curious, funny, charmingly rushes on our cameras.
What is that? Hey, what is that? What is that? Hey, he's us.
We spend with him the entire day, and we cannot understand what is going on here. What are we looking at?
Sit!
Where are you going now, O'Neill?
And shopping, buy Kinder Surprise.
Which candy do you like?
White and red.
What?
White and red. It's a Kinder Surprise.
Kinder surprise.
Yes.
Oh,
We have toy. We have a toy.
well,
There's a Kinder surprise inside. And I eat the chocolate. And the girl squash it. Look. See.
this.
Look, it says smoke. See the smoke.
The smoke? Where do you see the smoke?
See it. Look, it's here.
Ah, it means the smoke.
Okay.
Put the rectangle on me.
What to do?
Put the rectangle on me.
This way?
Just in me.
Hmm?
Just in me. Here's me. Hi.
What are you doing?
It's a waterfall.
What does it mean?
Waterfall.
He says it's just like a waterfall.
Waterfall.
I don't understand every word. And sometimes I just say yes, okay, but I don't understand what he says. It's really funny. A weird situation. Your son cannot speak his native language, his mother, his father's tongue, and they don't know how to speak with him. His family shares that during the last year they learned a few words in English, just so they can communicate somehow with O'Neill. We could not understand him. My daughter is in college, so I would ask her, what is he saying? And she would translate. When it happened, you didn't understand any English. We don't remember. Whatever we learned in high school, we forgot. I would use Google Translate, and through the app I can understand what he tells me in Arabic. You would translate him? Yes, otherwise I don't understand him. Sometimes he would use words that I don't understand.
Okay. That's my bed.
How well does he speak Arabic? No, he doesn't understand. He knows few words. For example, now he speaks Arabic. He tells me, Int alas. It means, are you done? His English is impressive, but it doesn't help him in the day-to-day activities. And the family is trying to teach him Arabic. What is it? Watch. What is that? The word computer is not in Arabic. Do you remember the first time you heard him speaking in English? What was your reaction? What was going in your mind? When it just happened, I was terrified. I was thinking, what is that? What is he saying? How come he talks in English? Who taught him? And what were you thinking? I thought about reincarnations. In his previous birth, maybe he was someone in America or England. We believe in that. Speaking about myself as a Druze, I do understand. Druze do consider reincarnations. Yes, I believe. Sometimes I would ask him, where are you from? He would tell me England, London. He is from there and he was an old man. O'Neill was born 4 years ago and he brought great happiness for us. The young parents decided to call him in a name which is not so common in his area.
O'Neill.
No, I like that name. Just like the basketball player. The happiness on account of the birth of the child transforms into worry. Infants usually start talking when they're a year and a half old. But O'Neill is not saying anything until he is 2 years old. He did not speak at all. Not at all. Which is not normal. It's not normal. In the age of 2 years, not to speak, it's not normal. He's not responding either, he is talking much and not reacting to their requests. Maybe he has hearing problems, and they were afraid that he has some problem that he cannot speak or cannot hear. I'm not sure to the extent of a Down syndrome, but that there is some sort of a problem. When they test O'Neill, everything looks normal. Simultaneously, he starts to mumble sort of an unexplainable gibberish. The worried parents decide to contact Irit Holman, a nurse that works in the village, so she can help them understand what is wrong with the child. His mother reached out to me so we can examine him. Language examination, speech, because he started speaking late. I refer them to further examinations and tests. Later, she came back to me and she asked if we can meet again. After these examinations, she came back and mentioned that her child has a problem. I asked her, what is the problem? She replied that her son started talking, but he talks like the King of England. That's exactly what she told me.
Oh, what? This is chicken?
No, it's a dinosaur.
Oh, no.
It's a great. It's crazy.
Oh, this is a chicken?
No, it's a zebra.
After almost 2 years of silence, O'Neill started talking all at once and in English.
This donkey?
No,
What
it's
is
a motorbike.
motorbike? Eh?
Dinosaur eggs. Dinosaur eggs.
What's that?
With a big tummy.
And you have a big tummy?
No, a small tummy.
His vocabulary, when I speak to him and I tell him something and he replies,
Oh my goodness.
a child doesn't use such words. A child does not express himself like that, like he is expressing himself. Sometimes he really surprises you, and you don't know how to react. He knows many old expressions that children nowadays are not familiar with. We showed him pictures of different objects. So he recognized the picture of old scales. He simply said water buckets. That's how he transferred water from one place to another.
You know what this is?
A water canny.
What?
A water.
A water. A water canny. Ah, okay.
Why I mention that? Because the position of these two buckets like that is not something a child can be familiar with. At least not in this area. He's an old man, and he was using words that only old people in London used. I don't know how they were transferring water from one place to another. To be honest, I'm not familiar with that. I don't know what to tell you how he brought this language. I have no idea. An old key, one of these old keys that are no longer...
This one?
A key.
When I asked the same questions about more or less the same pictures, no child recognized these objects. But he did recognize. They don't recognize at all. It's not that they don't know how to tell it in their own language. They don't recognize it at all. And he did recognize. He did recognize and he knew how to say that in English. Yes, that's a key. Everything in English. He says...
So sorry, my dear.
Every sentence he says, my dear. He was using all the expressions they would use in Britain. It's the first time that I witnessed something that I have no logical explanation for. Druze parents who were born here in a village, never been abroad, don't speak English. What if we try to think about another explanation beyond the reincarnations? What are the other possible explanations? Let's say he watches television in the English language 24 hours a day, every day, and he is extremely receptive and he is a very smart child. It's a possibility, but it's not. It's not it. So you negate that option? Because he's not doing that. What if he is extremely receptive and has phenomenal memorization skills? Okay, but then why not in Arabic? Why he wasn't receptive to Arabic first? They spoke to him in Arabic. His family speaks to him in Arabic. Why he wasn't receptive of the Arabic language? That's the language was spoken to him from birth. And how about the accent? The accent is not something that he could receive. Irit has been a nurse for the last 22 years. She's a medical woman, and she tells us that after examining the issue deeply, she cannot find another explanation but reincarnations. Give me another logical explanation, I will be ready to accept it. But at the moment, it seems to me simply miraculous. Did you share this thought with other professionals? Yes. You see, for whoever believes, is just another proof out of many that reincarnations exist. And whoever does not believe and sees O'Neill and hears him, it questions everything he believed in. Suddenly you have something like this in front of your eyes that you can see and hear, and you don't have any logical explanation to this. At least up to now, unless they find something. It questions. Towards the age of 3, when he's supposed to officially enter the education system, O'Neill meets Sigalit Bar. I manage the education department in the village. Sigalit is astonished. She decides to consult with her superiors in the Ministry of Education. So you call your supervisor and what do you tell her? I'm calling my supervisor and I'm telling her that there was a child in my office, one of a kind who speaks fluently English. He uses expressions of a grown-up man that does not speak any Arabic. And what is her reaction? Very similar, you know. Previously she heard that the Druze believe in reincarnations, so for her it was a serious surprise. The education system didn't really know how to address this weird story. A Druze child that speaks nothing but English. In the beginning of September, he was obliged by law to enter a kindergarten. What do we do then? From the 11th of September, he is officially under my responsibility. After innumerable consultations, it was decided that he will enter a kindergarten where the teacher speaks English. But the kindergarten will be Druze, and the children there will speak Arabic. According to professional opinion, in that way he will assimilate in the village. In the beginning there were some difficulties in the kindergarten, communication problems, especially with the children, because there are all kind of words that are spoken in English but have a completely different meaning in Arabic. And there are many problems such as anger eruption from the child. The way to communication is to learn the language. And if I arrange someone that will teach him English, the child would not get the Arabic language. If he wants to be assimilated here socially, he has to learn the Arabic language. Do you really believe that inside this child there is a soul of someone from England? After I've seen this child, yes. And before that, it was like a story that you hear sometimes. But after I saw the child, I had a meeting not exactly related to this. I entered and I said, I believe in reincarnations. Really? Look, I don't have any other explanation. In my conversations with him, he convinced me. It's something that I never met anything like that. I never encountered anything like that. I never knew anything like that. Something in him resembles an adult. If you see him, his language, the topics he's speaking about. Something mature. It's not that of a child. The first time I met him, I didn't experience him as a 2.5 years old. Isn't it easier to assume that his parents were pushing him English from the very beginning? Some parents in the village do expose their children to English, so in the future they can talk in English. But it's not the same level, because usually the level of English they hear is equivalent to that of cartoons. That level of English matches that of a child. That level of English matches children. He speaks with accent. His accent is British. After the skeptical professionals, just like the nurse and the woman from the Ministry of Education of the village, met O'Neill, they were convinced that maybe it's an actual case of reincarnations. The family is looking for a spiritual medium that will try to give an explanation as to which soul was reincarnated into this child. I could not understand why he speaks in English and not in Arabic. Let's say he reincarnated, but why he doesn't speak the local language? First thing she does is recording him and trying to understand from where this accent came. I shared this recording with few people, and they said that it sounds like a South London Pakistani accent. Not ancient, meaning that it's someone who lived not so long ago, not someone ancient. Can you take a moment and try to explain to me? As the soul enters, so it leaves? How does it work? Let's say your body has a particular consciousness. Right? You know who you are. At least you think you know who you are. You live in a particular body and you walk here on the surface of the earth. But where from this consciousness originates? What was there before that? Meaning that we all incarnations of something else? We are reincarnating all the time. Sometimes we don't come back anymore. It's something that repeats itself in many religions. It appears in many cultures. It wasn't invented by me, us, or the Druze. In Tamar's perception, it's absolutely obvious that O'Neill speaks English because in his previous incarnation he was a British person.
I am go home, okay? Yes.
After we met with O'Neill and his family members for the first time, we returned confused to Tel Aviv. As someone who doesn't believe in reincarnations, we were looking for a scientific explanation to what we have seen, and we invited to the set Dr. Karen Ben-Itzhak. She is an expert brain researcher that also deals with experimental psychological research. Do reincarnations and science go together? Not that I know. I don't believe in such things. We invited her to join us in the editing room so we can show her our footage. When we speak about reincarnations, the assumption is that today I possess a particular consciousness which I was never exposed to, and my present nervous system with which I was born and grew up in this world. And that system was not exposed directly to my previous nervous system that I had in my previous reincarnation. So I do want to show you this footage.
A mouse, an apple, and the paper, and the owl, and the princess, and the egg, and the house, and a banana.
Definitely the child knows how to speak English. We asked Dr. Ben-Itzhak if during her research she ever encountered anything similar. It's called xonoglossia, which is exactly this case. When a particular person, most likely after a severe head injury, for example a stroke, when a tumor is extracted, or a trauma for a head injury, etc. In such situations, the brain is damaged and is reorganizing itself. The brain possesses a self-healing transformational function. In such situations, there are similar reports. For example, just a few years ago, there was a report about a 50-year-old Italian man who had a stroke, who suddenly started talking in French. Dr. Itzhak is speaking about an event that was published specifically in his research literature, in which they mentioned a man nicknamed JC who suddenly started talking in French. When this was discovered, the medical world was shocked, but after a long inspection, it was discovered that the man learned French in school and also had an affair with a young French woman when he was in his youth. He didn't speak the language for years. He forgot about it. And then he remembered it again. According to this article, it's a very rare phenomenon, which was documented only a few dozens of times throughout history. But O'Neill's case does not fit that. He's only 3 years old, and that's why he cannot remember any language he learned in the past. Language doesn't appear just from nowhere. It doesn't work like that. Assuming that this is really the situation is very rare and it's very interesting. From my point of view as a neuroscientist, I have no idea how is it happening. I never heard about any instance that language was acquired from nowhere. A gap in science. There are many gaps. We share with Dr. Ishaq the test with pictures that the nurse did to O'Neill, in which O'Neill recognizes an old key. That impresses her less. In this age group, specific children many times can already categorize certain objects. For example, if now I have a key in this size, and I know that that's a key, I'll certainly know, and by the way, this is a part of acquiring a language. I'll be able to ascertain that a key in a different size is also a key. We can say that this particular table is a table, and a table which is a bit smaller is a table also. While we share more and more details with her about this weird case of the child, she mentions that one thing is missing. Most likely O'Neill was exposed to English, and that's how he was able to acquire the language. There is a possibility, especially if we speak about a brain who has a phenomenal ability to acquire languages, or to remember sounds. Sometimes it's enough to associate with a person who's not necessarily a central figure at home, perhaps in the education system or in any other framework, where the child is more or less constantly exposed to this person, who exposes the child to English. And this can initiate a process like this. Dr. Karen Ben Ishaq asked us to go to the village and search for someone from whom O'Neill might have learned English from. And very fast we discovered that maybe there is such a person. One of the neighbors of the family is a man by the name Waji. In the past, he lived in London and he knows English. Eventually we find out that O'Neill is familiar with him and that they're even connected. Did we just find the answer to this mystery and it's so simple and trivial?
Okay, tell me what's this? No, what's this? Milk, okay. And what is this, O'Neill? It's a cow?
Yeah.
What color is the cow?
We decide to return to Majdal once again, to meet up with Wajdi and ascertain if O'Neill indeed acquired the English language and his British accent from him. Is it possible that you taught him English? Is that really the answer? The neighbor Wajdi, as simple as that? What he has to say about this story? In our meeting with him, we are accompanied with an expert clinical communicator and a doctor in linguistics. She will also meet with O'Neill, play with him, analyze him closely, and will try to ascertain what is the story behind this child. All of that after the commercials. After consulting with experts, once again we're heading to meet O'Neill. This time we arrive with someone who is both a doctor in linguistics and is an expert speech therapist. She will examine O'Neill closely. In the same opportunity, we would like to meet Wajdi, O'Neill's neighbor, who speaks English. We were told that O'Neill has a close relationship with him. Maybe this is a trivial solution to the story? Here's the continuation of the report. We decide to return to Majdal again in order to meet with Wajdi and try to ascertain if O'Neill indeed acquired the English language and the British accent from him. This time an expert is joining us to examine O'Neill closely. She is a speech therapist and a clinical linguistic. Dr. Kaur speaks both in English and Arabic. Her expertise is linguistics. She will spend with O'Neill several hours and will give us a clinical examination. I don't think it's a reincarnation. I definitely don't believe in that. Basically, you're meeting him in order to understand the origin of the language. First of all, I want to see his communication abilities and his ability in the English and Arabic language. Then perhaps we'll get another explanation about where this English came from. Can a child suddenly acquire a language which he was not exposed to? Scientifically, it is not possible. A child acquires a language through the environment he is exposed to. For example, if his environment is speaking Arabic, he was supposed to speak Arabic. But maybe he's exposed to English through other sources like television. Even before Dr. Halou is starting her examination, we try to ascertain if the source is indeed the neighbor. We make an appointment with Wajdi. One thing stands right away from the beginning. Even if there is a chance that O'Neill got his vocabulary from Wajdi, his accent probably not.
Where's It's cameraman.
Did you live in England for 7 years? Yes. And that's where you learned English? Yes. O'Neill was never in London? You mean in this incarnation? Yes, I mean in this incarnation. No, but maybe I'll take him one day. If his parents will let me, I'll take him. Is it possible that you taught him English? The first time I met him, he was already speaking English. I was surprised and I was shocked. When he met you for the first time, what was the level of his English? Did he speak only a few words? No, not at all. Didn't you see him? He formulates a whole sentence and conveys a message. What really surprised me that after we met with O'Neill in my place and we spoke, he told me that he wants to go by car. I put him in the back seat and I told to myself that I'll just go around the block. I looked at him through the mirror and I noticed that he's looking for something. So I asked him, O'Neill, what's wrong? So he answers me,
I'm looking for my seat belt.
I stopped and I exclaimed, oh my God. Wajdi says that O'Neill chose to interact with Wajdi because Wajdi was talking in English and not the other way around. The child had no one to speak with in the village. No one could understand him, and that's why he was brought to Wajdi. Look, I'm teaching my children English for a very long time already, and they're unable to speak a quarter of what he speaks. More or less, they know a few words. Frog, camel, lion, things like that. Son. Even his accent is much better than my accent. Technically speaking, I lost my English. Since '99, I didn't speak any English. Wajdi shares with us that during the last 5 years, he works in the central part of the country, and he visits Majdal, which is located in the northern part of Israel, only during the weekends. So even the thought of a serious exposure to English through Majdi is not realistic. We raise the assumption that the large amount of exposure to the English language comes from television or tablet usage. Let's even say that he learned English from the videos he watched. What is the reason O'Neill cannot speak Arabic properly? That's a good question. If he learned English from the videos, why didn't he learn the language from his parents? Why didn't he learn Arabic? Why he answers in English? Why he is replying in English? His entire environment speaks in Arabic. Why he was able to acquire the English from the television, but he's not able to acquire a basic level of Arabic. You know, like, I want milk, I want this, I want that. Why he cannot acquire that? It's something that drives me crazy. I'm a completely secular person. I don't know, I'm completely secular, but suddenly, you know, it attracts me to that direction, although I'm very comfortable in my way of thinking. Does it question your belief system? It questions my non-belief systems, the non. You know, it makes you think, maybe there is something like that. Even if O'Neill didn't learn English from his neighbor, the ones who put faith in the theory of reincarnations, there is another suggestion to why the two are connected. I started thinking that maybe the neighbor has a Druze friend who passed away and left his body in England, and maybe that's him who is reincarnating. In my opinion, it's a friend of the neighbor, someone he met there. Otherwise, what is the reason for him to appear here? For what? You know, Wajdi, if O'Neill is actually reincarnating and it's connected to you, I'll be in anxiety. Now you're giving me some material to think about. I never thought about it. Now you enlighten me. I'm just saying that if I was in your place, I'll be a bit stressed. What, you mean to say that a soul came from another place to me? I say that it's somehow related to you. I don't know. I personally would not be able to fall asleep at night. Meeting Wajdi was interesting, but we didn't get a definite answer. The only option left is to wait for Dr. Haloub's results. Maybe she will give us a solution to the problem. Is there a chance that after you meet him and communicate with him, you will be convinced that it is reincarnations? No, there is no chance. From my experience, there are children with communication disorder that speak in the literal language rather than in the spoken language, although they're exposed throughout the day to the spoken language. But they acquire the literal language from television, and they prefer to use the literal language in their day-to-day interactions. Hi, how are you? Thank you, we're good.
I have a friend. New friend?
I have toys. Do you want to see them? Do you want to play with me? Can we sit there?
For a long time, Dr. Haloub sits down with O'Neill and examines him using different card games. She conducts the analysis both in Arabic and in English.
What color is this dog?
Green.
And this is a step, letter. During the entire examination, grandmother Jamila, she sits with us in great anxiety. She recognizes that her grandchild doesn't recognize the drawings of the objects, for example like the letter, and she requests from Dr. Haloub to ask him in English. If you will ask him that in English, he's gonna tell you. Simply to ask him to say that in English? Yes. You mean to say that he distinguishes between English and Arabic? Yes, everything that he encounters in Arabic and he cannot say, he says in English.
A ladder.
That's correct. And this?
That?
A bell.
Yes, very good. How are you? Is everything okay? My name is Mickey. And what is your name? O'Neill, would you like to play with me? Honestly speaking, it's really weird. So what do you say, Dr. Haloub? You never encountered anything like that. Dr. Haloub played with O'Neill for a long time. She came here very skeptical. She doesn't believe in reincarnations. What are her conclusions? How she explains O'Neill's phenomena. All of that and much more after the commercials. Dr. Haloub is a speech therapist and a linguist. We invited her specifically to Majdal so she can analyze O'Neill, and she will try to explain how a Druze boy was born speaking a language that none of his family members can understand. After she examined him for a long time, we meet her outside, anxious to hear her analysis. Here is how the story ends. How are you? Everything is okay? O'Neill answers in English, no. My name is Mickey, and what is your name? Would you like to play with me? It's really strange. He's a very communicative child. His grandmother is persisting to expose him to English as much as possible and develop that language. I wonder why. O'Neill's grandmother replies, because it's a miracle, one of a kind. It doesn't happen all the time. That's right. Like a river stream that flows in between rocks. It flows. You cannot turn it around and block it. Yes, this is our dream. Yes, and it is special. Have you ever encountered such an incident? No, not at all. When we walk outside, we ask Dr. Haloub to conclude the conversation. So what do you say, Dr. Haloub? I'm surprised. He's a very communicative child, in its full sense. Takes initiative, responds, interactive, cute. He requires attention. I think to say that you're surprised, it's an understatement, because previously you told me that you're shocked. Yes. He also communicated in Arabic, but his Arabic is not on the standard level and doesn't fit his age group. He's having a difficulty in pronunciation, distinguishing between male and female pronouns. In Arabic? Yes, in Arabic. And his accent is not... And how is his English? What is your impression of how he speaks English? His English is good. It's suitable for a 3.5 years old. It's 100% suitable for someone who was born in England and his mother tongue is English. You never encountered anything like that? No, never. I encountered children that speak in a different language, but on the other hand, they show difficulty in communication. But I didn't recognize anything like this in him. Does it make you think a bit in a different way? To be honest, I'm really surprised, and I don't have a scientific explanation to this phenomenon. Even after a professional analysis, we're not able to explain the weird case of O'Neill. In the Druze community, he became a symbol and a proof to the belief in reincarnations. Science will continue to look for explanations and answers, But a bottom line is that there is a little child here who is only 3.5 years old who needs to be taken care of. Today, he is not always able to integrate in the village he lives in. Both of his parents are worried. The question of if his soul came from the northern part of London or from the south has no interest for them. They want to help their son. His life will be here in Majdal, and we have to think how to help him. It's important for the parents that there will be a teacher that can speak with him in English and will preserve his uniqueness. On the other hand, it's important for them that he will be educated on how to integrate in his own village, where everyone speaks Arabic. My interest now that he will be able to speak in his own language. What would you like to happen? Maybe an assistant or a special school for him. Because I think it's going to be very difficult for him here. He's getting along, but he needs a good support. Does it still touches you? Yes. Because I have a special son. Very special.
Go home.
Okay.
Somebody